This video is brought to you by Oxford Natural and the Optimum Day and Night capsules. This is the perfect way to take charge of your weight loss journey through Optimum. Scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the video description below to start your journey now. Look at the difference. I mean, just look at KG. The proof's in the pudding. What's happening, people? Welcome back to United View and welcome to another video, another update, another banger with Dr. Andre. You've got a lot to live up to now. They look forward to seeing you all the time now. So, Happy New Year
to you as well. To you,
I mean, it is a little. I don't know what the point is of when you don't say that anymore, because we're like near the end of January.
I never know. But what is the day where it's like, whoa, that's weird?
I'll say, to be fair, we can get away with it. We can get away with it because these guys haven't seen you anyway. So it's a Happy New Year from them to you.
To them.
Yes, exactly. We're here, Oxford Natural, of course. Today's video, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the process of the medical. When there's, obviously medicals take place during the transfer window, but like, I want to talk about what that pressure's like, what the demands are like from the player, from the clubs, from agents, etc., etc. So we're going to talk about that in today's video. But like I said, it is the beginning of the year. It's after the Christmas period. I've eaten a lot. I've eaten a lot. We all have. We've been on the sugar. We've been on, the drinks. If you drink, etc., etc. It's a busy time, but it's very important to lock back in, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's allowed to go wobbly for a few weeks. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's part of life, isn't it? A bit of excess. But then it's tricky. Then you set yourself goals often in January when you've just come off this huge, basic sugar bender. And you're suddenly going to change and be different, and that can be very, very tricky. And you normally fail. I'm going to do this. Within 2-3 days, you've fallen off the sugar wagon or whatever. So you should just be patient. The key really to optimizing health and getting fitter and fitter is patience. If you drive too hard, too quick, you fail, you feel bad, you feel negative, and then you get in a backward loop. So we designed these products precisely for this gradual, steady improvement. So if you want to make a new change and maybe optimize your health, improve your mood, appetite, sleep, sugar control, the product is designed week by week, month by month, a ripple effect, subtle improvements, which then after 3 months you go, you know what, lost a few pounds, more energy, eating less of this, eating more of this. You combine it with exercise and a good diet. Optimum Day and Night is a great way to get you into the new year, and 3-4 months in, you're a better version of yourself. That is the idea.
Absolutely, and like we've always said on the channel, where it's me, KG, Owen, etc., it isn't a crash course. I know it's almost like my cliche, but it's not a crash course of just do it for a couple of months and then just abandon that process. So being able to jump straight back in and continue where you left off and continue that as your way of life throughout the year and never beyond is the key, because again,
it's the same
after
as
Christmas is so tough.
Yeah, it's the same as getting a new manager.
Yes.
Okay, you don't judge him after.
Yes.
There's always a little leap, a little placebo effect, whereby everything's better for a week or so.
We haven't had that. Just good at the new manager bounce. In theory, usually it does happen 95% of the time. Just this one time, hasn't happened.
It was barely a ripple, more than a bounce. But yeah, you want to give it some weeks and months. You have to reconstruct things, get rid of the bad, start the new. So yeah, patience is not easy, always tough in life, but is always the best way. You always thank yourself for having just stuck in there for a few months.
Absolutely. There is no quick fix. And as always, this video, as you know, is brought to you by Oxford Natural. And the link is in the video description below. Using code UNITEDVIEW. Check it out. QR code on screen as well to get up to 70%. Up to 70% from your Optimum supplements as well. So don't say we don't share with you.
You know what I did? I went to Holland Barrett.
Yes.
Okay, to buy all the things that are in Optimum Day and Night to see what it would cost you for what's in them, because it's an 8-in-1 capsule. It's over 170 quid to
So
get
if you go and get all the different individual
It would
ones.
cost you 170 quid from Holland Barrett, okay, or you could do this product, which is less than a third of that. So you're saving, you're getting better. It makes a lot of sense.
There you go. You heard it from the man himself, guys. Link in video description below. And a big shout out to our sponsors as always. Right. Transfers. Medicals.
Stress.
There you go, stress. I mean, what's the process like when, you know, let me put you into a position of, like, say you was in Man United's dressing room right now, or on their doctor's team, right, medical team. The team is struggling. The team is 14th in the Premier League. The manager's just come out the week before and said in a press conference, we are probably the worst Manchester United team in history. He said that. You know, he hasn't said this, but everybody knows we need transfers. We need players in quickly to suit this new system that we don't have, etc., etc. There's a big rush for transfers. What's going on in the medical department when players are coming in for those medicals?
Yeah, I mean, every medical, you think should be the same process, but everyone turns out to be a little bit different. Yes, there's the pressure when you know a manager is wanting a player. He wants this person. You know that already. And you may have to be the person that says, well, that's not going to happen, or not the way you thought it was going to happen. Players can seem as fit as anything. They've played every game for ages, and they turn up, and the investigations uncover wear and tear, things you think are on the cusp of breaking down, but they've played for game after game. So can you really turn them down because they've got proven track record of playing? And players who hardly ever play can look pristine. So everyone is different, but essentially it's a very busy day. The thing is, the player is never as nice again as they are on transfer day. Okay, they are like cuddly kittens on the day. Yeah. Everything, they'll do whatever you want. Yes,
they've got the new 5-year contract at 250 grand a week. Just need to pass this medical. Hello, doctor. Yeah,
we do not when they join the club, we don't recognise them as being the same person. Yeah. But they're always very, they're there to help on the day. So yes, you've got to do the basic stuff in terms of just their health on the day, heart, lung, all those things. Take a detailed history of all the injuries, all the surgeries, and you go back and you look at what data you have about them already from what they're playing, what's happening.
Do they have to submit their personal medical records, or is that separate?
They don't. They don't have to supply any records.
What if they had
at all?
I don't know, like a heart condition or an eye condition or something they didn't want to disclose to you because it's on their personal records, but you know that could affect maybe. Yeah, but is that the law? Is it they don't?
Well, when it comes to being insured, obviously if they hold back information and then it turns out later they had that, and it affects their player insurance. Right, so generally, it's not in their interest to hide things that way.
Right. Okay.
And again, if we find stuff out and then go back and find out what it was, it's not good for them as being a viable asset in the future. So generally, there's quite a free. Tricky when they're from abroad. As you can imagine, where records don't always exist for them when they're younger. Players from Africa or whatever, we don't always have detailed records on them in that sense. But generally, there's enough information we can gather in those day or 2 days that we have them to make a good enough decision. Because even though you think you're bright, you're educated, you do all the tests, you never know. You could buy a player, and the week later they could break down because injuries are not something you can see about to happen from just tests and examinations. Someone clatters you break something, you can't always predict.
No, that's going to happen. Yeah.
But there's no doubt it's a very stressful day for everyone. Everyone's very friendly and happy, but the underlying stress is certainly there because there is a time pressure. Once a player's out there to be purchased, then everyone's interested, and if you don't do the necessary in time, then someone can come in and swoop in.
Yeah, exactly. Which happens
and
a lot.
They might not care so much or be so diligent. They might just want him, and they'll take a chance on it. So, yeah, we've got to gather your data, do your scans, X-rays, heart checks. If they've had a series of concussions, neurological tests. Okay, you're a skilled doctor, but you're not an expert in every field. Okay, you are you know a lot about a lot of things, but the real purest detail, you may have to get an opinion on that to cover yourself.
So sometimes you have to bring in other doctors / specialists.
So you might do examination. You know what, that ankle, I'm not happy with that. When we have to ring on the day an ankle specialist and say, look, are you around? Can you check this guy for us? And we get a view from them.
Or send over some scans and say, what do you think of this, or etc.
I can show you a scan, and you would think it was an 80-year-old guy. Really? Okay, and it is one of the best players in the world. Okay, and that's what's tricky. It's when the player seems like they're perfection, it's going to be easy, and then the scan shows loads of wear and tear, but this guy's been playing so many games consistently. He's here for, I think he wants a 3-4 year deal. You think, is that going to last 3-4 years? And you don't know. And then lo and behold, you'll say, you know what? We're not going to take him because I going to protect the club, okay? And you turn him down.
So what
and
happens
then,
with that then? Say,
yeah,
I don't know, Man United really need a left wing back in this window, and you do your due diligence, you assess the player, and you come to this conclusion that, listen, guys, I'm telling you now, this is not what you think it is. Like this guy will break down, or I can see a glaringly I'm going to have to fail. I'm going to have to fail this medical, because you got sort of your responsibility as a medical professional,
Yeah.
of course, to for the good of the player and the club, but also you've got the pressures from above you of the club saying we really need this guy, and etc. etc. He costs this much, etc. etc. What is that? Not just the process of telling the club that you're not going to take the player, but what's the feeling like? What happens when you sort of say, right, I don't think you should buy this guy, or you can't?
It's quite rare that you fail.
Right.
Okay.
You
would just, as I said before, we had this chat before, I did fail a player once, and it created no end of hassle for me in terms of his agent on the phone, literally just screaming, he's going to rip
almost like denial from
just
them.
going to rip my throat out, because if we failed him, then no one's going to touch him after that. But this was I mean, you would have failed him. It was that barn door obvious.
You could just see.
But generally, if a player's fit and been playing for a while, and you're probably going to pass them, it will just depend on the type of contract. So, we're not there to undermine players and say, well, you've got a bit of wear and tear, you're worth nothing. There's no sense in that. But you do have to say, look, I don't think 3-4 years is as safe as we thought. So that's for them to then negotiate.
Right.
And you say, look, it's just a risk assessment. Believe me, there's players I would have failed that we took.
Really?
Okay. That played no problems for years. And other ones that I thought were just pristine and it's a walk in the park and never played for us a game because they got injured in training and never came back again. So, nature will make fools of us all. But you just said, look, this is the guy. I thought 5 years is too long, because there is we can see the bone where there should be cartilage, and that's a grinding down injury. I see that as being a 2-year job. So we need to say, look, we think you're great for 2 years, and that will colour the contract that the person gets. And normally the club is thankful for that, because it can save them a fortune.
The money, exactly.
Okay?
Man United need that, because we've thrown good money after bad.
Yeah, but even then they might say, Doc, that's fine. We're willing to take that risk on him, and thanks for the information. And therefore they can override that decision. It is they pay the money, okay, and that's ultimately all of football. That's what decides things is the money situation in the end.
Yeah, I know this is quite maybe difficult for you to answer, because you wasn't in the room while this medical was conducted, but we've spoken a lot about Mason Mount in these shows, and that he's just been injured ever since he's got to Man United. Muscular, his latest one was a 10-weeker. And he's been bought for £60 million. It's on 250 grand a week. We bought him in his last year of his contract, and in the year we bought him in, he had already had an injury-ridden season in his last year at Chelsea.
Yeah.
How could, and again, it's difficult because you wasn't there, you didn't conduct this assessment, but how on earth can doctors miss that basically this rapid deterioration from him? Or is it a case of, I know he had an injury-ridden season at the time we bought him, but all of the tests actually did look okay, but then the reoccurrence started from there? Or would you always spot that? Would our medical team have seen something and gambled? Or is it possible that they could have had Mason Mount for his medical and gone, okay, you've been out with a few muscle stuff this year, but from looking at the scans, you'll probably be all right?
I think two things. First thing is, soft tissue things are difficult to diagnose preemptively, because we can't really scan for those things. Bone, wear and tear, you can see that, you can't argue with it, it never changes, it only goes in one direction, worse and worse and worse. So arthritis, that sort of wear and tear that really finishes careers, that you can definitely view and make a comment on. But soft tissue things, and when I say soft tissue, I mean like muscle ligament things, you can't really scan for those things. They wouldn't scan, they wouldn't like a normal muscle.
So it wouldn't show a weak muscle, you can't see a weak muscle?
You don't see that, you don't see this potential weakness.
Right.
That you have to make a judge on someone's playing frequency on that. You really can't test it. So we can test the testable, but there is this range. And the second thing is that I would expect that the medical department would think they were better than the previous one. Okay, that's very common. We all think we're the best medical department. Okay, so they probably think, well, we're United. We can keep him safe, sort him out, cure this sort of thing. That wouldn't surprise me at all if they thought.
And last year was our worst for injuries ever. Like everybody was injured last year.
Yeah,
as well.
you said it was a tough one.
It was a really, really tough one. We had a record amount of injuries. That's really interesting, though. That this is why we do these videos. I honestly thought that there was some way of seeing muscles and saying, okay, that's a bit weaker, or that's. So really, all you can go off is the fact that they've had muscular injuries during this year.
Yeah.
For most of his career, he hasn't had that. This year's a bit of an anomaly. He'll probably be all right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember players in the academy who came through into the first team when we were at Everton, and we were within a hair's breadth of letting them go because they had spinal curvature, and that had led to poor biomechanics and led to a cruciate ligament injury. We thought they were all linked, okay? And we thought, well, they're just going to do that again forever. And there was a major injury crisis. The kids got called up, played really, really well, got taken into the first team and played for a decade. Okay, and they got hundreds of games out of these kids. And really, at that time, we could have let them go easily because the biomechanics said, yeah, that's not going to last. So it's this the thing, you can be as right as often as you're wrong and vice versa. So life just confounds you sometimes.
That was going to be my next question, actually. Do you need to be careful you don't overanalyze the data that you see? Because obviously it's factual, it's scientific, it's medical, so it's numbers, it's how things look on scan. So that shows you with your training that, okay, this means this. Yeah. But like you said, there could be players where, I've had a dodgy knee for ages, mate. But I just play with that. I'm so good, even with a dodgy toe or a dodgy knee or a dodgy elbow or a shoulder joint, etc. That you might see that, but I'm telling you, I'm all right. Yes. Or my track record shows I'm all right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you're looking for ticking time bombs, just things that are absolute no-nos. And even you might just uncover things like laxity. Laxity is important. So if there's a ligament that should be taut, okay, and strong, and you examine the person, and it's all it's like jelly, you go, well, that feels like it's going to have too much play. That's going to wear down really fast. So again, you can do specialized scans for those things, or see a specialist and say, is that a safe joint? But yeah, it's just you gather information, okay, and make the best guess you can. You're walking around with your chin out sometimes, like you're going to get it wrong, and people are going to look at you like, why did you sign this person? How did that possibly happen? But that's part of the fun of it.
Does that make you not want to go to work when it happens?
It's just
I passed this guy. He's having an absolute nightmare. I mean, this is on me. Because we've all been cussing out the medical department saying, look, how have they let this happen? This, that, and the other, clueless, changed the whole medical department. Yeah. Are you ever worried about that type of scrutiny?
Massively. Because it's very easy
from the club and the fans.
Yeah, because everyone is responsible. When there's a problem, an error, an injury, there must be someone to blame. Okay, there has to be so someone will carry it. Okay, and eventually you collect so many of these sort of little like badges of failure that eventually you have no place anymore, and no one will listen to you anymore. So, I mean, I did it for about sort of 15 years, and so you survive by luck, by good judgment at times, and a little bit of politics too. That's often how it works. It's not purely a medical thing.
I guess I can imagine that as well. And lastly, did you ever have any experiences where, like you just alluded to there, where you do come to blows, do come to loggerheads with a manager, a board, a hierarchy, where they might be pressing for a certain player, and you're like, I won't put my name to that, or no, I don't want to see that, or do it, but I'm telling you now, it's on your head, be it kind of,
Yeah, the club I work for, okay, I must say, they were hugely respectful of the medical position. They were. They made it quite easy for you in that sense. It was not that way across the board. I go to other clubs, knew other doctors and things, and they were squeezed into a corner. And let's face it, you don't have to be a brilliant doctor to be a club doctor for a football club, because literally every doctor wants to have that job. Okay.
Yeah, just for the status of it. Yeah,
so
that's true.
The fact you've got that job is great, but they know that if they could get rid of you, and 100 people would apply for that job the next day. Okay.
Actually, that's a good point. What level of doctors are there? Like, say in terms of working in a hospital or the GP who knows a bit about everything. Yeah. Then there's like physiotherapy. That kind of what.
Originally, it was just to be a doctor.
Really?
Anyone who was a doctor could be the doctor in that sense. It wasn't specific. And then about 10 years ago, they added in you need to have like a sports science qualification.
Right.
But that's really it. That's really the other things you need in terms of life support and first aid and those things. You are trained for those things.
Like, you're not a surgeon. Like, exactly, it's a complete. It's not like you can.
You wouldn't want a surgeon.
No,
you wouldn't want a surgeon because the surgical brain wouldn't handle it. Surgeons are in, do, and go. They don't want to do day to day. Follow up every single day. That's not their mindset. The best one tends to be like a general physician with sports interest, because let's face it, there's coughs and colds and cuts and bruises.
Yeah,
and things.
because you need to know about viral stuff, infections, as well as.
And you need to be very comfortable with those things day to day as well. And if you're too specialised, you've forgotten all that stuff.
Do you just get involved in like their football side of it? So like when the manager says, "Oh, this player's ill, he's got an ear infection," or he's out with a bug or whatever. Yeah. Sometimes they use that line just because they don't want him in the firing line, and they say he's ill. But other times, could get different viral infections, bacterial, etc. Would you say, listen, that's not really my remit? You've got your GP, or you've got your private healthcare, or you've got your personal doctor you probably pay.
Yeah.
I only care about, are you in a condition to train?
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not to do with me.
No, we do it all. We do it all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's nothing we wouldn't address.
Nothing.
No, nothing is.
It's not, Doc, I'm feeling really tired, or I've been coughing up blood, or I've been, actual stuff that leads you to have to go to hospital. I might have gallstones, or might
whatever ghastly, horrible thing you can think. Whatever horrible thing you can think of, we always deal with.
See, that's crazy. I thought it would just be about football.
Yeah, no. In some ways, that's one of the nice things, really, is that you get that relationship with them where you deal with every issue.
And do they have to do that, like contractually, or it just depends on the relationship?
It's a grey area. That's a great area. Yeah. Everyone has a right to go and see any doctor. You can't force that. But generally, again, it can affect their insurance if they see other people, other things. It can be, and it just breaks down some of the trust there in that. But so generally, you want a general physician who can do all those things. They feel comfortable, but also they know the second you reach the edge of your understanding, you refer to a specialist straight away, and they normally like that relationship. The hard thing was when they go beyond that and bring their kids along and then wives, and that gets more complicated.
Can you just do a whole family, please? Can you just?
And that got trickier because, that got quite difficult sometimes because you don't want to. That's not really what it's about.
100%.
But then
you've got a good relationship.
If they're straight there, they're in a foreign land, they're here, they don't know anybody, and they trust you, then you maybe stretch it sometimes. But not really ideal.
So there you have it, guys. Thank you to Dr. Andre spilling the beans on what it's like. As a Premier League doctor, when the pressure is on and the player must be signed, it's a whole different world out there. And as Dr. Andre said, you can get your Oxford Natural and your supplements through the link in the video description below using United View code. Scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the video description below. See you in another video soon. Take care.